Hey guys, Chaps here and welcome back to another Chromebook review. Today we're taking a look at the Acer Spin 713 2W and the Acer Spin 713 3W. That's the 2020 model versus the 2021 model. Now you may be asking, why are we comparing these two? Isn't the 2021 obviously better? Well, yeah, in some cases it is, but the 2020 model is still a very good device and it is cheaper, being it's last year's model. So is the 2021 really worth that extra money? Today, we're going to take a look at that. So the price on these, the 2021 model retails for $699 and you can sometimes find it on sale for around $529. On the other hand, this retails for $70 less at $629 and you can sometimes find it on sale for around $420. On paper, the biggest change between these two models are the internals. This 2020 model comes with a 10th gen Intel i5 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 gigabytes of storage. Compare that to the 11th gen Tiger Lake i5 processor on the 2021 model, and it's actually a pretty big difference. For normal computing, it's only slightly faster, but the GPU computation on this 2021 model is about 4 times faster than what you're going to see on the 10th gen processors. That's a pretty big difference if you're going to be doing video editing or graphic design, anything very graphic intensive. The other big change that I mentioned is 256 gigabytes of solid-state storage. Both of them are solid-state, both of them are very fast. 128 gigabytes is probably more than you need. 256, I would say, is definitely more than you need. But it is nice that it has double that storage and the price jump isn't that much higher. Another difference that you'll see are the ports. So, a big thing going to the 2021 model are these USB-C ports. They're both on the same side, which is unfortunate. I prefer the 2020 model having one USB-C port on either side, but it is worth noting that these are Thunderbolt 4 compatible now in the 2021 model. In order to make that change, they took the USB-A port that's on the 2020 model and they moved it over to the other side of the device. They basically switched a USB-C and a USB-A port. Both devices have all of the same ports, other than this one being Thunderbolt 4 compatible, but outside of that, you get the same exact functionality. Now taking a look at the hinges here, both of these feature a nice one finger open. The hinges on these are very smooth, and with that tall aspect ratio screen, it makes it so you have a nice moment arm and you can open these very easily. The hinges are nice and smooth, it's one finger open, but the big change is that the magnet was actually much stronger on the 2020 model. Sometimes it might be hard to get that one finger open. It's still very easy to open, even if you can't do one finger, but it is slightly stronger. Another thing that the magnet does is makes it so that when you go into tablet mode, the magnet now, with this new chassis design on 2020, allows for the magnet to hold this shut when you are in tablet mode, compared to on 2021, when you're in tablet mode, there's a bigger gap over here, and the magnet just can't hold it shut. So I do like that better about the 2021 model. I do wish the magnet was a little bit stronger. I like the 2W's magnet, but I really have no complaints about the one on 2021. Another big change between the 2020 and the 2021 models is the build quality. The 2W from 2020, it was actually one of my biggest complaints about it. The seams just don't seem to line up right. I feel like there's a little bit of flex in it, and it just doesn't seem like the highest quality build. There are big improvements going to the 2021 3W. I feel the seams you can't really feel at all. It's really nice. There's still a little bit of flex, especially in the screen with it being such a thin top part right here. But overall, it seems to be built much better. A big part of that build quality for me personally comes from the keyboard. Now the keyboard on both of these devices are very similar and they both rattle a little bit when you touch them. But the 2020, the 2W model, I feel like there's a lot more play in the keyboard. There's a lot more rattle, and I'm not really a fan of that. 2020, there's less rattle. It's still not my favorite keyboard, but I'm really happy that they decided to upgrade it in this year's iteration. The trackpads on the devices are basically identical. It's some of the best trackpads that I've seen on Chromebooks, and I have no complaints there for either one. What I do have complaints about, though, are the speakers. Both of these feature undermounted speakers, and they're just not very good. They're downward firing, which isn't ideal, and they're not super strong. I will say the 3W here has much better speakers. They don't seem to get blown out as much at higher volumes, and I feel that I can crank the volume up higher without suffering in audio quality. Neither one of these have great speakers though. If you really want good speakers on a Chromebook, I would say to avoid these models, but if you're just going to be casually listening to something or watching some videos, the speakers are good enough. They're some of the worst I've had on a Chromebook, but they're good enough. Now we can't talk about the Spin 713 without discussing the screen, right? Well, the screen on these things is basically identical to each other. They didn't really change much between the 2 years. It's still the awesome 13.5 inch, slightly higher than 2K resolution with a 450 nit approximately brightness. It's a fantastic screen, and anyone who's used this knows how awesome it is. It's kind of hard to go back to 16:9 after getting used to one of these screens. The only difference I really see between the two models is that the 2021 model actually seems slightly brighter to me. Based on the specs I found online, it was hard to find exact nits. Both of them are around the 425 to 450 point, but the 2021 is slightly brighter. You can see when I turned on the brightness on this one does stay a little bit brighter than the 2W. I do need to say though that even though the 2W is slightly dimmer than the 3W, it is still plenty bright, and for a Chromebook, the 400 nit point is fantastic and you're not going to have any issues with it. So I said that the screens are the same, but one thing that does differ a little bit is the fan and the battery. So the fan on the 2W really only comes on when you boot it up. When I open this up for the first time, I can hear the fan spin up and it gets a little bit loud. It's not too bad, and it's only up for like 2 seconds and then it quiets down. Outside of that, I've almost never heard this thing turn on. The 3W, on the other hand, I don't think I've actually heard it come on at startup, but I have heard it kick on a few times when I'm working on it. Part of that is going to be due to the processor. This has the 11th gen processor in it, and it takes a decent chunk more power than the 10th gen. So because of that, it's using more power, generating more heat. That fan might need to kick on. And unfortunately, that brings us to the battery life. The battery on the 3W is actually about 15% bigger than the 2W, but it doesn't show when you compare the battery life. In fact, this one is actually an hour, maybe even 2 hours worse in battery life than this. They're both around that 10-hour mark. Maybe this one's closer to 9, maybe getting down to 8. They're still decent, but the 2W is better. And I think a large part of that is, one, due to the processor using more power on the 3W, and then also the fact that the fan needs to kick on more. It's just draining that battery. So yeah, the battery's bigger, but it's taking more power to run that processor and fan, and it drains about an hour, maybe 2 hours slower. So we have two fantastic Chromebooks here. For the right price, I could recommend either of these to anybody. But when you're looking at full price, I do think that the 3W does win. And you would kind of expect that. The newer year should win. It's going to be a slightly higher price. It's $70 more than the 2W. But with that upgrade to the better processor, the improvements in build quality, double the storage, the better speakers, even if it's only marginally better. And yeah, that doesn't have the USB-C ports on both sides. That's kind of a knock against it. But for only $70, I think it's more than worth it to upgrade. On sale, when you can get this one for around $420 and this one's $529, $530, this might be something you want to consider. The 2W is actually a really solid deal at that $420 price point. It's probably going to be good enough to do what you need it to do, and it's costing over $100 less. You might want to go for it. But if you care about getting a year of additional upgrades, or you really want to push the limits of your Chromebook, then this one is still a very good value. This 3W is actually one of the only Chromebooks that I have reviewed so far that I could recommend getting at full price. So that should really speak to how great I think this thing really is. So speaking of other Chromebooks, I've also got the Asus CX5 and the HP X360 14C. I've done reviews on those as well as individual reviews on both these Chromebooks if you want to check those out. But coming up, I'm going to have a video discussing what I was looking for in a Chromebook, how I narrowed my choice down to 10 different books, and then narrowed that down even further into the 4 that I wanted to purchase and test out personally. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that video when it comes out. Also, if you found this useful, please consider dropping it a like if you think that we've earned it. Thanks for watching everyone, and I will catch you next time.